a new way to look at our flaws. Welcome back, I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast, and in this series, Torah for Today, we take a short idea from the Torah portion of this week and use it to upgrade and impact your everyday life. The Kohen, the priest, a descendant of Aaron, was known as those who increased peace among the Jewish people, and yet they had a very perplexing job. When a person was suspicious that they had tzaraat, leprosy, which came from speaking bad about other people, it was a spiritual illness that a person got, and it was diagnosed by the Kohen. And if the Kohen inspected it and realized and diagnosed it as it was actually tzaraat, the person would have to leave the camp. Why would it be that the Kohen, whose job is to bring people in, would be the one to diagnose it as tzaraat and to send the person away from the camp? Surely it would make more sense that someone else would have that job, and then the Kohen could be the one who would tell the person, you know what, your tzaraat is healed and now you can come back to the Jewish people. The answer is going to give us a new way to look at our flaws. The clue is in the word that's used when the Torah describes the tzaraat. We're told that the tzaraat would come on the flesh of the skin. Now, the word that's used is or, and if you look at that first time that word is used, it gives us a clue into what's going on here. The first time that this word is used is right after the sin of Adam and Eve, when God gave them a covering. Now, what was this covering? Before the sin, Adam and Eve had a clarity of vision. They could see things as they were. They could see the internal things of the internality of everything. Then after the sin, they lost that vision, and God gave them a skin that was a covering. Nowadays, when we look at someone else, we see the external. We don't see the internal person. We don't see the soul, the divine soul of that person. And if we think about it, that is often where all the problems come from. How can we talk bad about another person? It's because we don't see the internal. We don't see their internal struggles. We don't see their internal beauty. We just see the external. And that is what leads to things like lashon hara, talking bad. It's what leads to the tzaraat, this leprosy that a person would get, that would be that pointer to them that, hold on a second, you need to fix something in your life. Now, usually when a person gets tzaraat or a person gets a challenge, it's uncomfortable. We don't want to see that. But here's the interesting thing. A wholesome person who would get tzaraat would be happy. How could they be happy with it? You know why they'd be happy? Because the tzaraat would point them in the direction of what they would need to improve. A wholesome person would get the tzaraat and they would see, wow, this means that maybe I've spoken badly about someone. Wow, that means I need to work on the way I talk about other people. And they could be grateful for the knowledge that points them in the direction that they need to do in order to improve upon themselves. A similar example that I think perhaps we might be able to relate to is sometimes when a person gets angry. It's not a comfortable emotion at all. But sometimes the anger can teach us something, right? A person can get angry and it makes us think, hold on a second, what triggered me? And that knowledge can point us in the right direction. Maybe it was the time pressure. Maybe it was seeing something in someone else that perhaps we also have. And now that I know what I need to work on in order to fix myself. And that is why it's precisely the Kohen. Because the greatest kindness a Kohen, a priest can do is to help a wholesome person who wants to become better. To point them in the direction of what they need to do in order to become more wholesome. And interestingly enough, we can sometimes see this in our own lives as well. Sometimes, we start to work on something, right? We start to work on having a little bit more patience, or we start to work on incorporating a mitzvah into our life. And all of a sudden, we see the places where we're not being patient, or we see the places where this mitzvah is really, really hard to us. And we wonder, why? Before I was fine, and now I'm trying to work on myself, and all I'm seeing is the more flaws. You know what it is? It's because we have that greater clarity. It's kind of like, you take a glass of water and it looks clear, it looks pure. But then you boil that water up and suddenly you see the impurities. Why? Because the impurities were always there. But when you're boiling water, you're bringing it to a greater degree of purity, and it brings out the impurity. The same thing is with us, that when a wholesome person who wants to become better, and we start to work on ourselves, whatever area it is, sometimes we see those flaws. You know what those flaws are showing us? They're giving us the knowledge of what we have to do in order to improve ourselves. And it's not a cause to feel down, but it's a cause to understand that, wow, now I know in which direction I have to go through. And that's why it's precisely the Kohen who brings peace, because it's a kindness to help people who want to become better. And the same thing is for us. We're wholesome people. We want to become better. If we see the flaws, then they shouldn't be a cause for us getting down. Instead, it should be something that we look at and say, now I have the knowledge. Now I have the awareness. And now I know what I have to do. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. You can find me on Instagram. It's Gila Ross. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. Have a wonderful day.